Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the word Spot Media. Jamaica's murder tally for 2017 continues to soar, with the number of persons killed since the start of the year passing the 1,500 mark. According to data received by TVJ News, between January 1 and December 6, there were 1,508 cases of homicide. This is 275 more than the number last year, or a 22% increase. Based on the latest statistics, an average 4 persons are murdered daily in Jamaica. St. James was the parish with the highest number of killings, amounting to 313. Clarendon had the second highest number, 160, followed by the St. Andrew South Police Division with 149 and Westmoreland with 134. Next on the list was St. Catherine North with 123 and St. Catherine South with 103. 1,350 murders were committed last year in Jamaica. A mother is left to wonder if the charred remains of a body that was found in the trunk of a Nissan AD wagon is that of her son. The car was set ablaze at around midnight in Queens Hill, Red Hills, St. Andrew. The fire brigade was called to extinguish the blaze, after which the discovery was made. Reports are that the woman had loaned her son the car and has not been able to contact him. And the Police High Command in St. James has rolled out an aspect of its revamped crime-fighting strategies across the second city. The police say most of the 313 killings in that parish since the start of the year are linked to gang-related activities, so it's expected that this new strategy should focus on gangs and illegal weapons. TVJ's Lanage Franklin reports.
Commissioner of Police George Coelho toured several troubled communities across St. James and promised to make changes to the crime-fighting methods. On Thursday, a heavy contingent of police officers was deployed across the business district of Montego Bay and several volatile communities, to include Flanco, Glendavon and Granville. Head of operations for the St. James Police Division, Superintendent Gary Mackenzie, says the residents are upset with the crime situation.
These types of activities include snap raids, targeted raids. We have intelligence-driven operations, and these are geared towards targeting scammers, gang persons involved in gang activities, as well as persons who have been in the illegal gun trade and other illicit activities.
Superintendent Mackenzie says the police have recognized that where there is congestion on the roadways, persons will use this as an opportunity to commit crime.
We actually have a public order enforcement that will be ongoing throughout the Christmas season, and we aim to carry it into 2018. What we have observed is that we have an issue with vending, with obstruction, and in particular delivery trucks that seem to continue throughout the day. What has happened is that we have had obstructions.
Lanage Franklin, TVJ News.
Local experts are concerned about the distance people are now traveling to reach specific hospitals to get treated for violence-related injuries and road traffic crashes. Director at the Mona Geoformatics Institute at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Paris Leo Ai, says it is also a concern because persons transporting these injured persons must have proper first aid training, or they could hurt the injured persons even further. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
3 hours. That's the length of time some Jamaicans are now traveling to get their relatives and friends to specific hospitals for treatment. Most often these injured persons would have just had a violent encounter or a road traffic crash.
But we do see people coming from as far as Mount James, St. Andrew, going to Cornwall Regional Hospital. Yes, we checked. The report did say Mount James, St. Andrew, and Port Maria, St. Mary. These guys are going to Cornwall Regional.
The reason behind this is still uncertain. However, the pattern is also observed in other parishes.
Westmoreland to Maypen, St. Anne's Bay. These are where the crashes and injuries are occurring, violent injuries are occurring, and reported to St. Anne's Bay, Spanish Town, and you can see the pattern of crashes against violent-related injuries, all being admitted to Spanish Town Hospital here.
But while the experts are trying to figure out the reason behind that, Dr. Paris Leowai says more focus needs to be placed on first aid training.
You don't have somebody coming in to the hospital with a bullet hole in his leg, but also has a neck injury caused by transportation issues. And if people are traveling from St. Andrew to Cornwall Regional, then lots of opportunities for injuries are en route. So it's something that we have to look at very carefully.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
The public defender is calling on the government to give greater attention to the dismantling of garrison communities across the country as a means of preventing social ills and human rights violations. The call comes in the wake of the government's fulfillment of the first of a list of recommendations from her office in relation to the deadly May 2010 West Kingston security operation, an apology from the government. As Jamaicans continue to react to the government's apology and promised financial compensation to residents affected by the West Kingston security operation, Public Defender Arlene Harrison Henry believes that while these two are important, more needs to be done urgently.
And compensation does not prevent the situation from occurring again. So we need to look at the broad range of recommendations. That is, if we're a serious people.
Mrs. Harrison Henry believes that dismantling and preventing the creation of other garrison communities is a critical recommendation that needs to be actioned urgently to prevent a recurrence of the circumstances that led to the West Kingston operation.
You know, we have talked about it over the years. We have had ton loads of studies on it over the years, and yet we move on, business as usual. It is time that we stop, and I don't want to say anything more. We are not sociologists, but we have learned we have an intimate understanding now of how garrisons are operated.
She says based on the years of investigating the West Kingston operations alone, the authorities should now be in a suitable position to address the matter on an island-wide scale.
And we believe it's time that the Parliament and the people of Jamaica demand that these institutions, which they are, be dismantled.
Herman Green, TVJ News. Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, says he is taking steps to prosecute persons who continuously dump garbage in the North Gully, which was one of the main gullies that overflowed its banks and flooded the parish capital last month. On November 22, downtown Montego Bay came to its knees as floodwaters ravaged roadways, several businesses, motor vehicles, and forced persons to swim or climb to higher levels to save their lives. Mr. Davis points out that less than a month later, garbage is piling up in the gullies again.
I am appalled to know that after we have cleaned the gully the way in which we have done, which has never been done like that before, and to see the citizens throwing garbage in the gully once more, it tells me that, you know, our civic pride has eluded a number of our citizens.
Following the flooding on November 22, Mayor Davis said Montego Bay would be back to normal 4 days later. However, several business places along William Street, Embassy Place, and one on St. James Street remain closed. Prime Minister Andrew Holness visited Montego Bay the day after the flooding and announced an allocation of $20 million to aid with the clean-up process. Back on the crime scene, the parish of St. Mary, which usually has a comparatively low homicide rate, recorded a double murder last night. The latest killings have happened early this morning on Fort George Street. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
Crime scene tape drawn as the St. Mary police try to piece together the motive behind the killing of 2 security guards on Fort George Street early this morning. That incident has left family, friends, and colleagues of the dead men in shock and disbelief. Commanding officer for the division, Superintendent Dudley Scott, says 3 security guards attached to Marksman Limited were attacked while on duty at a DNG site.
Vincent Walsh, 52 years of age, and Cleve Grant, both employed to Marksman Security Company. They were shot and killed by unknown assailant or assailants.
Superintendent Scott says it was discovered that Mr. Grant was missing, and so they started searching for him. However, while the other 2 security guards were searching for their colleague, they came under attack.
Police was summoned on the location, and on arrival, Walsh's body was seen at the rear of the compound, lying face down in a pool of blood. While Grant's body was discovered outside the perimeter fence with a gunshot wound to the back of his head. Cunningham was also gazed to the left leg.
The cops say they're doing everything possible to solve this case. However, the police are appealing to residents, especially those in Montego Bay, to come forward with any information they have.
The support from the chaplaincy unit, in fact, I communicated with Reverend Anthony Armstrong, our Era 2 chaplain, as also one of our local Baptist pastor and other members to support, along with our community safety and security team from St. Mary, to offer support to the family members and also the maximum security members who are grieving at this moment.
St. Mary has recorded 21 murders since the start of the year. In 2016, the parish recorded 29. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
And it's time now for a Fact or Fiction feature. Fact or Fiction, Two Sisters Cave is located in Buff Bay, Portland. Find out the answer at the end of the sports segment of the Midday News. In news overseas, the UK and European Union reached a significant milestone in their pursuit of a Brexit deal on Friday, breaking a deadlock that allows talks to move on to a crucial second phase.
I very much welcome the prospect of moving ahead to the next phase, to talk about trade and security, and to discuss the positive and ambitious future relationship that is in all of our interests. I've consistently said that we want to build a deep and special partnership with the EU as we implement the decision of the British people to leave at the end of March 2019.
And we go now to sports. Excelsior High were crowned first-time Issa All-Ireland Senior Netball champions, while Denby retained their hold on the junior crown.
Missed out on their first attempt at the All-Ireland trophy last season. Excelsior High went one better this time around, copying the symbol of supremacy in schoolgirl netball by snatching the crown from many-time winners Homewood Technical with a comfortable 43-32 victory. Homewood, who last won the title in 2015, were early out the blocks and took an 11-7 first quarter lead. However, they were unable to hold that advantage as the urban area champions roared back in the second with a 14-6 display to lead 21-17 at halftime. The Mountain View Avenue-based girls, led by shooters Okoya Douglas and goal attacker Sana Williams, did not look back and increased their margin by 2 to lead 30-24 after 3 quarters. Williams, who was part of Jamaica's Sunshine Girls squad in the Barbados series, was later named MVP of the finals, pouring in 31 goals from 38 attempts in steering the Christopher Smart coach team to victory.
We really wanted it more than Homewood. They have won 9 times. This is the first time for Excelsior. We were in the All-Ireland final last year. We lost to them by 1, and we thought that we should have won that game. We gave it away in the last. We made up our mind this season that any lead we get, we will live with it. And we'll work on it at each interval. We'll look at the game, assess, and the intention was to keep possession of the ball as long as possible and ensure that the pressure stays on Homewood. So I think, again, it's a hard to win for us and our school community.
Meanwhile, Denby High retained their hold on the junior crown with a 27-20 win over St. Catherine High. The corporate area champion St. Catherine took a narrow first quarter 7-6 lead. However, the teams went into the halftime break level at 12 apiece. With Rihanna Wisdom finding her range, Denby took a 3-goal third quarter lead at 19-16 and increased the gap by 4 in the final to come away with the title. Goal attack Talene Hunter of Denby was named the finals MVP.
It's a tremendous feeling, humbling feeling for the school. As I always said, netball is our #1 sport. We did not retain our senior title, so this year being the All-Island champions for junior, it spelled good for the team and it shows that there is development, and of course at some point in time we will become senior champions again.
Karen Madden, TVJ Sports.
And finally this afternoon, the answer to our Fact or Fiction feature. We asked, Fact or Fiction, Two Sisters Cave is located in Buff Bay, Portland. Well, it's fiction. In fact, Two Sisters Cave is located in the hills of Helsha in St. Catherine. The cave was formerly a single cave, but following the great earthquake of 1962, the roof collapsed, leaving two smaller open-air caves separated by a huge pile of rubble. Each cave has a small sinkhole which contains fresh water. It is possible that these reservoirs served as freshwater sources for the Teanos. The natural cavern and the tunnel beneath are interconnected with many other over the vast limestone area. The cave contains a petrified carving of a face which is about 700 years old, that the caves were mainly used for ceremonial purposes. And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.